What's going on YouTube, and welcome back. So, Shimmering Skies set 5, August 9th. It's coming pretty quickly, and a lot is happening. We have the Bucky nerf, so Bucky's essentially gone, but we're getting some new discards. Interesting. We get top 8 for set championships. Personally, I like the change as a competitive player, but sure, it's unfortunate that if you go to sell your card, they're not going to be worth as much, right? But at the end of the day, they're more accessible to everyone. And me personally, I don't see a problem with that. I'm not going to lose sleep over it whatsoever. I'm still going to go to the set championships that I regularly go to in my area. I'm not going to go crazy far out of my way to go try and get these cards. Didn't do it before, not going to do it now. I'm just going to go have fun and do the best I can at these events. I think it's a great change for the game personally. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today, we have Blurple. Set championship Stitch the first time around. This deck exploded onto the scene. And then set 4, it kind of failed off. And I had a deck list that I thought about messing with for a while, and I just never got around to going and playing it in real life. And without Pixelborn, I couldn't test it. But here it is. Link down below. So this was the Blurple list for this set that I was kind of working on. I felt like locations were really strong, so I wanted to essentially ramp and get out locations and use things like Elsa and Yzma to protect them, using the Amethyst engine for draw, and obviously you have your one jump, your how far, and your Mickey as your ramp engine. So we're heavy on purple here. Let It Go as a way to out cards as well, kind of like Yzma and Elsa to slow your opponent's roll. Things like Maleficent, Dolores, Broom, Chernabog, Rabbit to be able to draw cards too. That's kind of where this deck came from and the idea behind it. Again, unfortunately, I didn't really get around to testing it or actually making a video on it. Just one of those things. Not every idea we got going on up here makes it onto the channel until videos like this. But moving forward, we have a card like Mufasa, right? And Mufasa is insane. He's an 8 cost. He quests for 4. He's a 4/9 stat line, the ruler of the Pride Rock. And for those who don't know, uninkable by the way, when you play this character, exert all cards in your inkwell and then return 2 from your inkwell to your hand. So it gets resources back to your hand if you're forced to ink cards you don't want to, or anything like that. Potentially getting a card that you ink off the top of your deck too. You don't get to pick it and you don't know. It's random and you would never see if it got inked, but there's a potential to get that good card back off the top of your deck. So whenever this character quests, ready all cards in your inkwell. That's pretty crazy, right? So it's an 8 cost. You play it. Any ink that's not used gets exerted, and then 2 random cards from your inkwell go back into your hand. So you get 2 free cards. You lose the ink, but in this deck, that's perfectly fine. And whenever this character quests, ready all cards in your inkwell. So essentially, the next turn, you play out your cards, you use up your ink, you quest with him for 4, you re-ready your ink. And that's insane. This card is crazy. It has to find its way into Blurple, right? Not necessarily. I don't know if it's going to. There's a lot of other cards like Cusco, Selfish Emperor, is a quick way to be able to deal with items, which is so-so, but also locations like taking out a Queen's Castle in just one swing. So it's removal that this deck has struggled to have before. You put it in their inkwell, so it's not quite as good for them as Yzma, where they get to draw 2 cards, but it's better for you in that regard. Earlier plays, there's Tipo. Fishbone Quill hasn't really been a Blurple standard card, but Tipo is pretty strong. You get to play it. Essentially, it's Fishbone Quill on 2, and it leaves the body behind. And with the Amethyst engine, you can bounce Tipo and keep playing him. Do I think he's going to be worth it? I don't know. I want to try him. We'll see how it goes. Your power play. What is the power play with this deck? Well, we're getting a new Genie card. He's a 7 cost uninkable. He's a 5/5 stat line. Quest for 2, and while he's exerted, your opponent can't ready their cards at the start of their turn. Or their characters at the start of your turn. That's pretty crazy, right? especially when you think of Elsa, the 8 cost, who when you play her gets to freeze 2 characters. That's pretty good, right? You get Genie down, you come back with Elsa, you choose their cards, they can't ready them, and they're just locked, and you keep questing with your Genie, you keep bouncing your Elsa, you keep replaying your Elsa. But wait, there's more. The other 7 cost uninkable card, Anna. Elsa is out, Anna is in. 4/5 stat line, shift 4, but we're not shifting her in this deck. And when you play her, exert all your opposing characters. Yeah, it's Elsa, but better. Doesn't target, assuming the translation is correct. You know, we gotta wait on that. Which it would make sense. You know, we're 4 sets later. Power creep starts to be a thing. Mass hitting boards gets around ward. But exert everything, and you follow up Genie with this. That's pretty good. She also quests for 2, and you can bounce her and replay her. So essentially, you freeze your opponent's board because of Genie and your Anna, and you just keep bouncing your Anna and replaying her, and it just creates this vicious loop, and it's very, very difficult for your opponent to do anything. I really, really think that it's going to be a great way to play. In addition, Amethyst also has a new Madam Mim card, the Elephant now. Her 3/7 stat line is pretty crazy. Obviously, she comes with the standard when you play this character, bounce a card or banish her. At the start of your turn, though, you can move 2 damage counters from this character to a chosen opposing character. Unlike all the bad Emerald cards, where you move it to a chosen damaged character, there's no damage involved. You can move up to 2 damage to a character. Her 7 willpower means she can take a beating. She can go after your opponent's characters, and then at the start of your turn, you get to move her damage to other characters and just really get a lot of value out of her. And we have some uninkable cards, right? Like, we got to be getting high in the uninkables. So how are we going to do that? How do we get our pieces? How do we make sure we get Genie? How do you make sure you get to your Anna? How do you make sure you get these cards, right? Well, Amethyst is a lot of draw, don't they? So that's pretty good. Things like how far I'll go. You get to look at your top 2 cards. Add 1 to your hand, put 1 into your inkwell. That's crazy for consistency and value, right? It gets even better. One of the first cards, at least that I remember being revealed for this set, Merlin. Shift 5. When you play this character, if you use Shift to play him, you may search your deck for any card and put it into your hand and shuffle it. Any card. Quest for 2. 7 willpower. The 3 attack means it does die to Medusa, but by the time they Medusa you, it does not matter. He already served his purpose. Man, Merlin. How do we abuse Merlin? Goat and Rabbit, Amethyst, Blurple. It all makes sense now. This deck is... I think the sky's the potential. This, like, sky's the limit. This deck is... I think going to be insane next format. Maybe I'm overhyping it. Maybe it's copium. Maybe I'm missing something. But I think this deck is actually going to be very, very strong. And you're like, well, he's a 6 cost. I mean, shift 5. And you have 2 7 costs you need. Mufasa's an 8 cost. The deck curve cost is too high. They're all uninkables. It can't possibly work. Well, let's go ahead and look at a sample list. This is... hypothetical, just put it together. We put it together. We being me and my thoughts, because there's so much going on up here. This is a sample list. I'm going to test it. I'm going to mess around with it. And I'm going to change it. But for right now, I think it's a pretty good spot. So we have Broom and Popsicle on 1, both cards draw. So consistency. On 2, you have your Tito for ramping. We want to start ramping on 2. You have your 1 jump ahead on 2, so you can go ahead and play that, or you can wait and sing it next turn, whatever you want, or what would be more beneficial to you. In addition to that, we also have Snake, but there's really no reason to play Snake on 2. Snake is there for bouncing your Anna at a cheap cost. It's there for bouncing Rabbit, bouncing Goat, things like that. So that's why you want to play Snake at 2 for the crazy advantage you get that way. But again, Tito and 1 jump ahead just build up your inkwell. So again, they're instant advantage cards. And then you have Maleficent on 3. And what she does is she draws you a card. So say if you go Tito 2, put a card from your hand into your inkwell. If you're loaded up on uninkables, you can do it that way. And then you play your Maleficent on 3, and you draw a replacement card. So it kind of works out and keeps your advantage up. In addition, we have Madame M. Fox at 4 because she's still pretty good. I'm not sold on the elephant yet. We're going to try her at 2. Maybe she goes to 4. Maybe she goes to 0. But I'm going to try her at 2. I think that's an okay number, going 4-4-2 with our Mims. I think that's actually probably, wouldn't be surprised if that becomes a standard in a lot of lists. The value you get off a Snake being a 2 cost is just crazy. Fox having the rush, I still think they're both better. But maybe we go 4-4-4. I don't know. We'll see. Then we have our 4 goats, 4 rabbits, and on turn 5, or the next turn, because we're ramping, so our turns kind of get skewed, we have Merlin Shift. But yeah, so you can shift over a goat or a rabbit, and keep in mind then if they remove your Merlin, your Shift Merlin, the smaller Merlins do not trigger because they don't exist at that point. They follow it wherever it goes, back to your hand, whatever, etc., etc. So if you bounce it, they both go back to your hand, and then you can play your rabbit or your goat again and get the value that way. But when you bounce it, you don't get that lore or the card. Unless they change that ruling, but that is the way that I have seen it from some reputable sources. After that, we have two Cusco, 2 Yzma. Yzma outing characters, or get rid of your own cards to draw once you just lock down their board and they can't do anything. Questing for 2, 4-4. She's really strong. Cusco there, just out an item like a Lucky Dime. You don't want to lose to a dime. Out a Lucky Dime, out a Queen Castle, out just cards like that. And then we have, right now, 2 Anna, 2 Genie. I don't know. You could maybe get by with like one of each or so. I don't know. I want to mess around with this. At first, I don't think I'm going to play Mufasa. If I do test Mufasa, I think I'll pull one jump ahead out, and we'll just be 3 jumps ahead, and we'll play 1 Mufasa in that uninkable spot instead. But I don't know, like I want to get the Anna Genie lockdown. And true, you only need 1 of each, but you don't want to just auto lose your combo to Along Came Zeus or something like that. So I really think 2 Genie for sure stays, and then Anna maybe go to 1. I don't know. We'll see. Again, this is just preliminary and a lot of testing to be done. But I'm excited for this deck. I think, like I said, this deck is for sure going to be a strong tier 2 deck, but I think it has the potential to be tier 1, especially if it gets the player base backing behind it and they decide, hey, let's play this deck because this deck's going to be really, really good. The 1 jump ahead, the friends, and the how far I'll go being your songs, they're all crazy. And then 4 Queen's Castle, because that card's crazy. We've seen it win so many events on its own, it feels like, in set 4. So in set 5, again, I don't think that Queen's Castle is going to go anywhere. What else could we do, right? There's no need for Big Ursula, because if you get your lockdown, their character's already exerted, so they can't sing anyway. Elsa, maybe. Mufasa, maybe. Those are a couple cards that to mess around and toy with. How many uninkables? I think I was at 20, was it? So 4 Rabbit, 4 Big Merlin, that's 8, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we're at 20 uninkables. So mulliganing, you have to be careful. You don't want to see Anna or Genie in your opening hand. You want to see them around like turn 4-ish, and then you can use your Merlin to search out the one that you're missing. Rabbit, Merlin, obviously you need to see Merlin, the big one, and one of the little ones, whether it's Goat or Rabbit. But 20 uninkables also in Sapphire decks, it works because 8 of those uninkable cards ink a card. So yes, you might get stuck with uninkable cards in your hand, right? But as long as you have 2 inkable cards, if you have your 1 jump and how far I'll go, you still get to 5 ink, or 4 ink. You would need that 3rd off a draw. But anyway, you get to 5 ink very easily, because odds are you'll see that 3rd one, especially by that turn. So it's like turn 1, ink, and then you're going to play a broom or a popsicle, and you're going to be able to draw off popsicle. Broom, you'll have to wait until later. So maybe you want to play Chernobog's Followers. I like broom for that late game aspect. If I'm pushing, I still need that one card, right? I can play broom, play rabbit, draw a card, pop broom, draw a card, and you get to draw 2. So I like being able to get that immediate draw on the same turn that you play it. Chernobog, though, works, like I said, in this regard where you don't have a character on 2 to play and you want to draw a card. You want to just speed it up, get it going. You can quest with your Chernobog and draw a card. So there's pros and cons to Followers or broom. Just me personally, I'm a broom fan. But like your 1 jump then gets you to 3 ink. And if you get to 4 ink, your how far I'll go gets you to 5 ink. So 8 of your 20 uninkable cards get you ink out of your deck anyway, so it's kind of skewed again in that regard. But overall, I think this is actually going to be a decent list to start with. Again, I know it's going to change, especially too because however the format develops, you may have to cater the deck and put counters to the format, and you have to build it for the event you go to. So there is that, but I'm really excited for Blurple this set, and this is the list I'm going to start with. We'll see how it goes, and I'm really, really excited. Let me know, what decks are you excited for, and what do you think about Blurple in the upcoming format? Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for all the support, and until next time, take care.